Now, let's do the example for sine. We should always remember the general formula, which is y is equal to a sine bx plus c plus d, where a is the amplitude, b is the period, c is the phase shift or horizontal shift, and d is the vertical shift. As we can see in our equation, a in our case is 2, which means our amplitude is positive 2. The period is equal to E is equal to 2 pi over b. In our case, it's 2 pi over 4, or simply just pi over 2. Since we don't have a c in our equation, we should put the phase shift as 0. And last, d, our vertical shift, is positive 3. We should also find the upper limit and the lower limit. The formula for the upper limit and lower limit is d and plus minus a. So let's do 3 plus 2. Our upper limit is equal to 5, and our lower limit is 3 minus 2, which is 1. We should also find the domain. Since when we graph this is infinite, we will just write negative infinity and a positive infinity. For the range, we need to put the lower limit, then the upper limit. These are all the variables that we need to compute for the graph. First, we need to find our 5 points. And since that our period earlier was pi over 2, pi over 2. So let's go to the middle, which is 0 plus pi over 2 is equal to 2 divided by 2. So pi over 2 divided by 2 should reciprocate. So it will be 1/2. Then we should multiply. It will be equal to pi over 4. So that is the midpoint. Pi over 4. And the middle of pi over 4 and 0 is pi over 8. And the middle of pi over 4 and pi over 2 is 3 pi over 8. We should also, the next part we need to do is do the vertical shift. Since our vertical shift was 3, we need to start our graph on 3, positive 3. And the range is 1 and 5. So this is how far our graph will go up and down. So since our trigonometric function is a sine, we will start from the middle. And since our amplitude is positive, we should go up, then middle, then down, then middle, then up. So let's start our graph from up, middle, down, middle. That's our graph for sine.
cosine. Here we have an example of negative 3 cosine 1/2 x plus 5. And the basic equation of cosine is a cosine bx plus c plus d. A stands for the amplitude. We need b to find the period, c for the phase shift or horizontal shift, and d is for the vertical shift. As I said, a is the amplitude, so the amplitude will be 3, since the amplitude is always positive. The period will be like this. 2 pi is constant, and the formula of this will be 2 pi over b, and b is equal to 1/2. 2 pi over 1/2 is equal to 4 pi. Vertical shift of 5. Since we have vertical shift, we need to find the upper limit and the lower limit. To find the upper limit, we need to add the amplitude to the vertical shift. So 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. And to find the lower limit, we need to subtract the amplitude to the vertical shift. So it will be 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. The domain will be starting from the positive infinity to negative infinity, vice versa. And the range will be 2 and 8. And now we will graph the cosine. Now we will graph the cosine. Since the period end is equal to 4 pi, our cycle ends at 4 pi. And one cycle has 4 points, so basically it will be 2 pi, 3 pi, and 1 pi or pi. A lower limit of 2 and upper limit of 5 from 1. So our point will be at 2, 5, 8. Two, 5, 8. Since a is equal to negative 3, we will start from the bottom, going upwards and downwards. and from 2 going upwards, so 5. Will be right here. 8. And 5 again. And the graph will be like this. Going like that and over again. So that's all.
Name is following P. Chavez from Semarotsu. I'm here to show you how to solve second. The equation po is y is equals to negative 3 second 1/3 x minus pi over 3 plus 5. First po, identify po natin is amplitude. Amplitude po is always positive, so positive 3. The next po is period. Para po makuha si period, ang formula po natin gagamitin is 2 pi over b. b po is 1/3 x. 2 pi b over 1/3. Then, may other way po para makuha po ito is, which is 2 over 1, 1 over 1, then 1 over 3. Then, times po natin si 2 sa 3. 2 times 3 is equals to 6. Then, 1 times 1 is equals to 1. Simplify po natin. 6 pi. Then, phase shifting po. Para po makuha si phase shifting, i-equate po natin sa loob ng parenthesis po by 0. 1/3 x minus pi over 3 equals to 0. Then, divide both sides po by 1/3. 1/3 over 1/3. Or may other way po, ganito po, which is pi over 3 3 over 1, then 1 over 3. Pi times 3 is equals to 3 pi. Then 3 times 1 is 3. Cancel po. Matitira po is si pi. Then vertical shifting po. Para makuha po si vertical shifting, copy lang po natin si d, which is si 5. Then para po makuha po si upper limit po, para po makuha po si upper limit po is plus lang po si 5 tsaka si 3. 5 plus 3 is equals to 8. Then, para po makuha po si lower limit po, ang kakailangan po natin gawin is i-minus po si 5 kay 3. 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is equals to 8. Ay, 2 rather. Then po, para si range po is negative infinity minus 1 then 1 to positive infinity. Then sa domain po, x must not equal to pi over 2 plus pi k. To find the endpoint, you must add the period and phase shifting. Our period is 6 pi. Then our phase shifting is pi. 6 pi plus pi is equals to 7 pi. Now that we are finished, it's time to graph. Mag-start po tayo sa phase shifting. Ang ating endpoint po is 7 pi at dahil dalawang cycle po tayo ay ang last po natin is 13 pi. Then dahil negative po ang ating amplitude, mag-start po tayo sa lower portion at mag-start po tayo sa phase shifting. Lower, middle, upper, middle, lower, middle, upper, middle, and lastly, lower. Then, ibayin lang po natin ang kulay para po makita po natin na maayos. Then, hiwalay po natin dahil para po natin makita natin yung asymptote. Yung mga blue lines po natin is yung para makita po natin yung asymptote dahil hindi po sila tatama. Now, nakuha na po natin yung mga asymptote. Kuha na po natin yung mga reciprocal nila. Dahil dito po ay half po dito. Half po ito. Tapos lagyan po natin arrow dahil sila po ay continuous na line. Then, kunin po natin yung mga points. Pi plus 7 pi divided by 2 is equals to 4 pi. Then, pi plus 4 pi is equal, divided by 2 is equals to 5 pi. 5 pi over 2. Then, 7 pi plus 13 pi is equals to 10 pi. Then, 7 pi plus 10 pi is equals to 17 pi rather, over 2. Then, 10 pi plus 13 pi divided by 2 is equals to 23 pi. over 2. Then 4 pi plus 7 pi is equals, divided by 2 rather, is equals to 11 pi over 2. That's
second is y is equals to 2 cosecant 1 of x plus 3. We will gonna find first the amplitude. Amplitude is half the distance of the graph. To find the amplitude, find the number of the next in trigonometric function, which is 2. Next is period. Period is the function so we can know when the graph will end. So we will gonna follow the formula of period, which is 2 pi over b. Copy the 2 pi. Then to find the b, find the number that has open and closed parentheses, which is 1/2. And then solve. So 2 pi times 2 is equals to 4 pi over 1, or simply 4 pi. Next is vertical shift. So basically, the vertical shift is the midline of our graph. So our vertical shift is 3. Then we have upper limit and lower limit. To find the upper limit, vertical shift plus amplitude, so 3 plus 2 is equals to 5. Then the lower limit is vertical shift minus amplitude, so 3 minus 2 is equals to 1. Then let's move on to the graph. First, we will gonna write the period, which is 4 pi, so that we can know when the graph will end. Next is the amplitude. So we know that amplitude is half the distance of the graph. So half of 4 pi is 2 pi. Then next, half of 2 pi is pi. So basically we know that this is a sequence. So 1 pi, 2 pi, then this is 3 pi. Next is to find the lower limit, which is 1. So from 0 to 1, let's draw a horizontal line. Next is the vertical shift, which is 3. So from 0 to 3, then draw a horizontal line. Next is the upper limit, which is 5, then draw a line. Next is to point the graph. If you know how to point the graph in sign, this is much more easier because cosecant in sin in graphing is basically the same. So first, point the graph in midline, then upper limit, then midline, then lower limit, then midline. Before we draw the graph, let's find first the vertical asymptote. To find the vertical asymptote, we will find the one that has a point in midline, which is 2 pi and 4 pi. Then let's draw a vertical asymptote. After that, we draw the graph. We drew this symbol so that we can know the graph is cosecant. So, this is how we solve the trigonometric function of cosecant. I hope that you understand it.
Hi guys, my name is Juaneves Escascante and today I will teach you how to graph and solve tangent functions. So this is the general formula of tangent functions, the a tan b times x plus c plus d. So I'm going to explain every single one of this and the possible other tips and formulas being used. So first, A is the amplitude, B times X is used to find the period. If you have a C, that's the phase shift. If you have the D, that's the vertical shift. So first, how do we find the period? The formula for the period is pi over B. So for example, is your B is 2, so your period is going to be pi over B, like that. And if you have C, first you need to solve the P, then phase shift. What will happen is B times X plus C will equate to 0. Okay? So now, if you only have 1 with the X, automatically, if the B is 1, automatically the asymptotes, the vertical asymptotes, will be positive and negative pi over 2. That's where you'll automatically start if your B is 1. If it's 2 and up, what will happen is you will equate it. You will equate to positive negative pi over 2. Like, for example, if B is 2x, what would happen is this would be 2x is equal to this. Okay? Right? Now, you will solve for x. So you will divide both sides by 2 and reciprocal, and 1 over n, or 1 over 2 times positive negative pi over 2, and that will you'll find the new vertical asymptote. So this is my example. I put everything. So there's the amplitude, there's the period, there's the phase shift, and there's the vertical shift. So rather than tackling it one by one, we'll tackle it all at once. So first, you need to list on everything at the side and write everything what is equivalent to. So like this, amp or amplitude A is equal to 2. Next, period. To find the period, pi over B. So we're gonna substitute 3 to B, so that's gonna be pi over 3. So this is our period. Next is the X scale. We'll tackle that later. So phase shift first. Phase shift is equal to 3x minus pi over 2 is equal to 0, because that's the rule. If we have phase shift and period, we will equate it to 0 in order to find the phase shift. So solve for x, divide both sides by 3, x is equal to pi over 6. So this is our phase shift. Okay? Next, vertical shift. Our vertical shift is 4 because this is plus 4. Okay? To make your life easier, I would suggest to tackle it at the right side of x. So it's all positive, and it's all the same. So that's my suggestion, and that's what I saw on YouTube. That's the easiest way and the most understanding way. So what will happen is we will write the phase shift pi over 6 because that's our phase shift. If we have a phase shift, we will not start at 0, 0 anymore. Because of the phase shift, we will move to right or to left. So in this case, we move right a little bit. So what happened is we will start at pi over 6. But we will not start at here at 0, 0, 0 pi over 6. We will go up 4 steps because of the vertical shift. So we will start at 4 pi over 6. So this is where we'll start. This is the dashed line represents, right? That's the dashed line. Next is there's amplitude 2. So what would happen is the 2 points, in order to graph the line, the 2 points are moved 2 up and 2 down. So that's representing by the circle. So the x, which is the 4, plus 2, 1, 2, 6. So that's the first dot. The second is bottom 2, so 1, 2. So that's the second dot. So that will happen is we have two dots that we can connect now. So that would happen. That's the first graph. That's the second graph, and and that's the third graph. So the question is, what is the x-scale? The x-scale is what we add to the phase shift in order to find the asymptotes and the x-intercept. So it's alternating. The first one, of course, is a asymptote. Next is a x-intercept, asymptote, intercept, asymptote, intercept, asymptote, so on and so forth. So two asymptotes, and in the middle is the intercept. Two asymptotes, middle, intercept. Two asymptotes, middle, intercept. Okay? Now, how can we find the domain and the range? The range is automatically negative infinity and infinity because there's not stopping the rising and the decreasing value of the tangent graph. Next, in order to find the domain, it is the set of real numbers except the ones that being used by the vertical asymptotes. Okay? There are all the real numbers except the vertical asymptote. That means it's all equivalent to the real numbers except 1 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6. So that's the meaning of not equal to. Okay? So that's the domain. So yeah, that's it, I guess.
In graphing cotangent functions, tangent and cotangent functions almost have the same formula and process of computing. It also has almost same look and shape of the graphs. The difference is this. In graphing cotangent functions, always remember its graph has no amplitude since there is no maximum or minimum value. The graph is symmetric with respect to the origin, so the function is an odd function for all x in the domain. Cotangent negative x equals to negative cotangent x, meaning the vertical asymptote starts in the origin 0 and the other one is at a certain point. So the formula is y is equals to amplitude cotangent bx, wherein bx is equals to 0 and bx equals to pi, and the period equals to pi over b. Always remember the domain is always x over x. It is not equal to pi n, wherein n is an integer and the range is always negative infinity and positive infinity. For example, y is equals to 1/2 over cotangent 2x.
For the given cotangent, y is equal to 1/2 cotangent 2x. Before we graph, we first need to find the period. And finding the period in cotangent is different from the other trigonometric functions. The formula for period in cotangent is p is equal to pi over b. In our case, p is equal to pi over 2. We also need to find the asymptotes. To find the asymptotes, we need to equate our bx. So, 2 times 2x is equal to 0, where we get, when we divide both sides by 2, we get x is equal to 0. We also need to equate 2x by pi. So 2x is equal to pi. We divide both sides by 2. Then we get the answer, x is equal to pi over 2. So with the given asymptotes 0, then pi over 2, we can simply add the next period, which is pi, then 3 pi over 2. These are our asymptotes. Also, before we graph, we need to find the x-intercept. We can do this by finding the midpoint of the two asymptotes. In this case, it's pi over 4 3 pi over 4, then 5 pi over 4. Then we simply graph. We graph with the left side up and the right side down because we are graphing a cotangent. Our graph should not meet with asymptotes. That's all for cotangent.